So guys, it is Friday, practice has been happening, and we're on the eve of the final race of the 2017 Formula 1 season. And yes guys, I do know, I am aware, we're not sitting here just before an amazing title finale like we were this time last year. But if you look through the standings, there's still a few things to play for, some of the minor positions. So let's go through this video, talk about what's to play for, what's likely, and what's not. So of course, most important thing to play for in the Drivers' Championship is P2 between Sebastian Vettel and Valtteri Bottas. Of course, Mercedes will want to take the clean sweep, so 1-2 in the championship, and of course they've got the drivers and the constructors. So they really want Bottas to get ahead of Vettel, but it's pretty unlikely. Vettel is 22 points ahead in Drivers' Championship ahead of Bottas. Obviously he's still behind Hamilton, but that's different. And it would take quite a bit of a miracle, I would say, for Bottas to turn this run around. I think Bottas would have to win, and Vettel would have to DNF for this really to turn around, or at least be in. Vettel would have to be in like 9th or 10th or something for it to be turned around. Bottas would have to win. So I would say that's pretty unlikely, but I guess it'll create some excitement in front of the field, is what we want to see. But I think Vettel deserves at least P2, and so does Ferrari. So yeah, I reckon Vettel's going to hold on to P2, and in fact I reckon he's going to win this weekend, but that's a different video. Moving on, P4 in the championship, another exciting battle here. Daniel Ricciardo and Kimi Raikkonen, 7 points between them, with Ricciardo ahead of Raikkonen by 7 points. The order here could easily change. 7 points is not much. And I guess the fact that Ricciardo is ahead of Raikkonen shows how good he has been this year, considering the Ferrari is clearly faster than Red Bull, at least at the start of the season. Or maybe, alternatively, it's shown how bad Kimi Raikkonen has been, especially considering Ricciardo has had a few races where he's had to DNF. So in Hungary, where he had the crash with Ricciardo, and of course in USA and Mexico, I believe he retired. So Ricciardo's had a few difficult races and is still ahead of a Ferrari. So maybe Raikkonen has been particularly poor this season. That is my opinion, if I'm going to be honest with you guys. And yeah, I reckon there a change is pretty likely. Now P7, and this is quite an exciting one. Sergio Perez versus Esteban Ocon. Perez is 11 points ahead currently, so in reality the chance of there being a change here is pretty unlikely, because to get an 11-point swing or a 12-point swing, if you're in a minor team, that's in the minor point positions, it's not easy. So I can see Perez easily holding on to P7, assuming nothing crazy happens. And of course this is an inter-team, this is a rivalry in their team. Pretty exciting stuff, I would say. And it'd be interesting to see how that goes. Hopefully they'll have a good will-to-will battle. But even if Ocon beats Perez by a couple of places in the race, it won't be enough to beat him overall over the season. But I would say Ocon and Perez have both had pretty impressive seasons, and they're based on P7 and 8. That's as good, the best of the rest. That's as good as they could have hoped for, I guess. Moving on, P9, big battle here between Sainz, who's on 54 points, Massa on 42 points, Stroll on 40, and Hülkenberg on 35. Of course, Massa's going to be in his final ever F1 race this weekend, we assume. But I reckon Sainz will hold on to P9 because Massa is 12 points behind him. And I'm hoping Massa does have a good race. It'd be awesome to see him on the podium. But I reckon that's a little bit optimistic. So maybe that won't happen. But I guess the big battle here is between Massa and Stroll for P10. But I'd say Massa has had the upper hand recently. So I do expect him to hold on and finish his final season in the top 10. I guess Hülkenberg could spoil their party there a bit. But it would take a top 6 result for him to get into the top 10 in the final standing. So it's possible, but that would also depend on other results. And you can't have all drivers doing badly. That's just not possible. Finally, in the drivers, P14, Magnussen on 19 points, Alonso on 15 points, and Van Dorn on 13 points. This battle doesn't really matter at all. It's not for a top 10 or anything. But it's sort of interesting. A repeat of the Brazilian Grand Prix would see Alonso jump Magnussen, especially because Magnussen could have another poor race. And I would also say it'd be pretty amazing if Van Dorn could beat Alonso over this season, his first season in F1. I'd say it's fairly unlikely because overall Alonso has had the upper hand, although because they've hardly been scoring points, this doesn't really reflect in the points table. But I would say Alonso will probably hold on to P15 ahead of Van Dorn. But I could actually see Alonso jumping Magnussen, but I don't think Van Dorn will be able to jump him as well. So yeah, it could be interesting there. I can see Alonso making changes, but it would be cool to see Van Dorn beat Alonso. And then I know in the drivers there is lots of drivers on 0 points like Gasly, Hartley, Ericsson. But okay, you know, it's obvious there most of them aren't going to score points realistically. So there's no real point about talking who's going to come out top there. That's a bit difficult. So moving on to the constructors, only one really basically relevant battle here. Of course, you know, Sauber could overtake McLaren if they get a 1-2, but that's not at all realistic. So let's not talk about that. So P6 in the constructors, Toro Rosso on 53 points, Renault 49, Haas 47. Everyone is talking about this, and I do probably mean everyone. Lots of prize money up for grabs, of course, between P6 and P8. And this should have been Renault's position, P6, but they did have Palmer for most of the season, and that's ultimately where it went pretty wrong for them. Imagine where they would have been if they had a proper driver such as Sainz in that car from the start of the season. They would probably be challenging Williams for P5, I would say. You can't tell. And yeah, anyway, Renault engine cars, so the Toro Rossos and the Renault, and the Red Bulls as well, but that's relevant here, are having to run on reduced power to stop reliability issues. This should really give an advantage to the Haas team in this battle here at the end of the season. But the chances of them scoring 7 points and then Toro Rosso and Renault getting nothing at all is fairly unlikely, and especially considering that two Haas drivers are two of the most inconsistent drivers on the grid, in my opinion. I know that could be controversial. So yeah, I reckon Renault could grab P6 if Hülkenberg or Sainz have a very solid race. And you must remember the Toro Rosso drivers are pretty inexperienced and haven't got points. All of Toro Rosso's points is between Kvyat and Sainz from the start of the season. Of course, neither of them are there anymore. So yeah, you could potentially see Renault jumping Toro Rosso, but I reckon Haas are going to stay in P8, and it's certainly been a disappointing season for them. So yes guys, tell me what you think about these possible changes, and I'll see you guys when I review the 2017 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.